everyone, to another episode of Businessmen and Women of Color podcast. I am your host, Ann Alston, CEO and founder of ALSTNTEC LLC. And once again, it's my pleasure to bring quality programs to all of you. Today, we have another wonderful and inspiring guest speaker who will be teaching us about the power of self-publishing your own book. I met this gentleman at the Maryland Future Business Leadership Conference in January, and immediately we hit off a conversation. So before I introduce and bring him on, I would like to briefly talk to you about the importance of empowering ourselves to read. Everyone has heard the saying that if you want to hide information, put it in a book. And I'm one of those guilty ones who hardly ever pick up a book. And like many of us, we're not educating ourselves the way we should. So one of the things that I did was I went back to college, and I can tell you I was amazed about how much I really didn't know because I wasn't reading as many books as I should. So when you're young and you're thinking that you know it all, you really don't know it all. So being able to expand your knowledge is the key to learning. And it's not only for your personal benefit, but it's also for your professional benefit as well. So, by having that education and reading and learning so much, I was really inspired to go back and start, and begin my consulting company because I wanted to share all of the information with you all that I've learned. And I even took it a step further and published my own book. So with that, I want to also take the time through this podcast to inspire all of you. And I would like to first introduce our guest speaker. Many of you know him as a well-accomplished author of a recent novel and some others. The most recent is and I hope I pronounced this correctly, The Ibrahim Unites, that is selling out all over the internet. He also has other self-published novels spanning many different types of fictions and genres. He is best known for his self-erotic crime drama series, Robert Manners and No Breaks, both of which are bestsellers on the Lean Pub author platform. His latest works, Crime Cipher and Ibrahim Unites, introduce readers to his next level fiction experience. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome James Lee Nathan III to our program.
Yay!
yeah, you're here. Welcome, James. I am so happy to have you on this podcast today. So thank you so much for joining us.
Well, it is a great pleasure, and your introduction about reading is spot on.
So, James, I wanted to bring you on this show because, I think it's very important that people really see all the things that you're doing in terms of your self-publishing and how you're marketing and how confident you are. And I thought, that this would be a great topic for our business owners, even individuals who are listening to this that don't even have a business, who always felt like they wanted to write a book or they have something to get off their chest. Because I know for when I self-published my book, Empower Thyself, that it was really something that was kind of bubbling up in me for a long period of time. And so, I really want to share with everyone, the best practices if they want to write a book, how do they go about that? What is the passion behind when you write a book? These are the kind of tools that I kind of want to share with people. So if you want to kind of start off about, your background and what inspired you to start writing these novels and series and, and what keeps you motivated to keep going.
Okay, great. Let's see. I started writing at an early age, and because I did a lot of reading at an early age, and it kind of tailed off as I entered the Air Force, and that was like in 1978. And once I didn't pick it back up or start back until I was well into my 40s by the time I started again. And it was just, a couple of short stories here or there. I was just, writing and doodling, just writing down things. And I had some ideas for a series, and I just didn't know what I was going to take it. and I was just fooling around with it. And my at the time, she was about 8, maybe 9 years old. My youngest daughter, she was on my iPad, as kids do, and she was reading one of my stories, and lo and behold, she gets up and she walks over to me and goes, "Dad, this is good. You ought to finish it." And I was like, "Okay, all right. I think I'll maybe I. What do you like about it?" And she says, "I just like it. I think it's a good story. You should finish it." And so that's what kicked it off, and that was the latter part of 2010. And then I started writing in earnest in 2011, and I haven't stopped. And people ask me, they say, "You come up with all these different ideas and these storylines, where do you get them from?" And I tell them the first novel I wrote was Rise of the Chulo, which chronicled the spread of hip-hop around the globe. And I said, well, they say the first book that you write is about yourself. And so a lot of me was in that first book. And then the rest of my sci-fi stuff and the erotica, the romance stuff, the crime dramas, a lot of that stuff is just pure fantasy, imagination things. But I still have characters that I grew up with, and from my family and from friends, from my travels in the Air Force. And so I've kind of added some of those different things and flavors to it. But I literally think I have 1,000 stories in my head that I need to tell. And I aim to do just that, tell them all.
Wow, that is amazing. It's amazing how, we have these little talents and we kind of, just mess with it over time and not even realizing that this is a talent that can turn into something really positive and powerful. I think, matter of fact, I was even amazed too about how many Black authors there really are out there. I went to a book festival just this weekend, and there were so many African American authors. I didn't even think that it was possible to see that many because you don't really see them out there. And for you and others to be able to take something out of your brain, out of your mind, and put it in a tangible form that invokes imagination is, I think is amazing. So, and I noticed that you kind of went into, the sci-fi realm. So what was it about the sci-fi realm that kind of got you going?
Well, I've always enjoyed science fiction. Love it. I love science fiction. And there are very few Black science fiction writers. And also, I guess that's in a small sense, that's a good thing for us, and then a bad thing as well. I was reading an article on NPR about just that thing, how it's not as diverse and rich across the board as other genres are. And it's a very competitive niche to get into or to break into. It's very competitive. And I'll talk about those types of things when we go further on about market surveys, how they help you figure out which genre you want to really write to. But I read a lot of science fiction when I was younger. I read a lot of pulp fiction novels as well when I was younger, crime magazines, detective magazines. So those have played a big part from back then to now in what I write. It's a throwback to the late 50s, 60s, and 70s of that type of stuff being available, at the corner store or at the newsstand, And so I've been able to peel back time a little bit and go back into my youth and just, take a glimpse of some of the times, the music, the clothes, the fashion, the culture back then, and to try to capture a lot of that into my writing.
Okay, awesome. So why do you think there is not a lot of, black authors that, go out into that unknown territory of science fiction or, I see a lot of drama, I see, the hip hop or, our black culture. But, when you come out of the box in different genres of that sort, like science fiction and some of those off the wall ones. Why do you think that, African Americans kind of not even venture in that way?
I really can't say. I really can't tell you why. Because there are black nerds. There are thousands and thousands of black nerds. So that's not the reason. But I really can't tell you why. I'm going to be at a State of Black Science Fiction Writers convention in June in Atlanta. So I'm going to be around some of the better known black science fiction writers in the country. Going to be there. So what I'll do is I'll take pictures and I'm going to send them to you. That way you say, okay, yeah, there's a black science fiction writer.
I'm pretty sure they're out there, but I guess it goes along with some of the other things that we have a lack in, and some of that. And I know we try so hard to get our products out there, and we don't have like the same level of, resource to get our names and our faces on things. We're still struggling in that area, even though we made good strides, So, for the listeners out there who are yearning to purchase, to self-publish a book, kind of talk about, what are the challenges of doing that? Maybe give them some tips, really give them some information on what they need to do to kind of get started.
Okay. And a lot of it, and a couple of things right off the bat. So, if you were born in the last 10 years, you would never know, or you wouldn't really understand that Tiger Woods at one point was the greatest golfer in the world for a long time. You would not even know that. If you were born in the last 10 years, by the time you could realize who Tiger Woods was, he wasn't the number one guy anymore. So you wouldn't have that affinity to say, well, black men can play golf, or blacks can play golf. You wouldn't have known that. So for me, I say if you love science fiction, if you love to write fantasy, epic fantasy, I say read it and write it. Okay? And I'll tell you how to get out there and publish your own stuff, and then promote it. I'll talk about all of that, because to me, if you can get out there and people can see that, and people can see and put a face and say, hey, wait a minute, a black guy wrote this, but it shouldn't even matter. It shouldn't really matter, but hey, race matters in this world, and so for me, I try to tell a story that will grip you, move you, and change you in some way, just like my characters. So I want people to get out there. If you have what I did, I have favorite authors, so and I deal in fiction. So first off, find out what you want to do. If you want to write fiction or do you want to write nonfiction. I'm going to tell you right now what sells. Fiction doesn't sell. Nonfiction is what sells.
So for everybody's clarification, what is the main difference between fiction and nonfiction? Just for the clarification of those who are listening to this segment.
Okay. I'll give you a nonfiction. A nonfiction would be a biography. A nonfiction would be a history of the Vietnam War. A nonfiction would be the story of Watergate. Those are nonfiction. Also, it's do-it-yourself stuff, self-help books. The book you wrote is nonfiction. Okay, you can do an autobiography about yourself and talk about how you have fought depression for 15 years and how bad your life was and how good it got. You can do all of that. That's all nonfiction. So if you have a story to tell, just figure out which venue you want to do. And you could also tell that same story as fiction, okay, and just change the names and change the people and places, and it could be fiction. So figure out which one you want to do. Fiction is a lot harder to do. It's a lot harder to break into. It's a lot harder to make money out of fiction because there's a lot of people writing fiction. Not as many people write nonfiction, and not as many people write nonfiction well. And the reason there's a lot of that is because it's all based on popularity and notoriety. So you can sell a cookbook, but nobody's going to buy my cookbook because they don't know who I am, right? But
Right.
if say Patti LaBelle, writes a cookbook, well, they know who Patti LaBelle is. They're going to buy Patti LaBelle's cookbook, right? They bought her pie.
Right.
So therein is a thing with nonfiction, and you can get a book deal by being a celebrity, and then you can get to do that, So they make money that way. But like I was telling you, a lot of the money that you make off of nonfiction is off of speaking. That's how authors really make their money, is off of speaking engagements and going to different places and speaking and being invited to speak about different things, about what's in your book. And then you give your book away, because you're selling the next book. So that's how authors make their money. Fiction writers make their money when they option their book, and they option it to either a movie or to a TV show. And I was just telling someone the other day, I said, so supposing my book, Ibrahim Unites, got optioned to be a TV series. Well, I could sign a contract and I could be getting $20,000 once it goes in production and gets green-lighted to go make a pilot. I could be getting $20,000 just for that up front, and then I get residuals, maybe $3,000 to $5,000 a month after that. Okay.
Wow.
But yeah, and if it is optioned as a movie, well, that's $200,000. Okay, and then plus the residuals after that, so I'm getting maybe $5,000 to $10,000 a month off of that. So you can write something, you can make a book. That's how Harry Potter's J.K. Rowling made all that money. She's so rich because she got all those residuals for the movie. She sold
Wow.
But she had the movie rights. She's making money. She's making money hand over fist. Very wealthy woman.
Okay.
But
Right.
But those are far and few between. So if you're lucky to get that, and you know someone and you know some people, but here's the thing. You touched on it earlier. Read. Read. You have a favorite author. If you want to write into that style, that's great. You could do that. And then you can develop your own style off of that. Some folks have talked to me and they say, oh, well, I like Walter Mosley. Okay, so I want to write like him. And for me, I can't write like Walter Mosley because he thinks so deep. There's so many deep things going on in a Walter Mosley book. Very good writing, but it's deep. It's deep. He could give a sentence, and within that one thought, it's so deep. You're like, whoa, wait a minute. Let me go back and read this again and see if I can get the proper context and what he's trying to get to me. And I can't write that way. I can read that way, but I can't write that way. I'm not good at it. But limitations. You'll find those things out as you develop your writing style and as you start to write more. Let's see. You had said something that I wanted to hit on too as well. Okay, so we talked about which one, right? Fiction or nonfiction. And whatever one you choose, you go for it. But you have to now you have to pull back and figure out an author platform. So a lot of authors don't have author platforms. And you being a businesswoman, a smart, savvy businesswoman, you have your social media set up. You have your own website set up. You have these things so that people can reach out and touch you, and they can connect to you, and you can connect to them, and you can refer, and you can network and collaborate. You have these things available. So authors need to do the same thing. You have to set that up. And you need to set, when you step on the Facebook, you need to have your personal Facebook and then your writing page on Facebook, which is separate. Okay? So anybody go on that one, and then on your personal one, you want to be selective on who you put on there because you're going to be posting pics and, and basically talking your free mind. And, you you might lose a couple of book sales that way.
Right. Yes. That is so true.
So you want to be selective on who you actually add to that. So you do that, but here's the beauty in social media and setting up these platforms. Majority of them, I would say about almost 90% of them, are free. You don't have to pay a dime.
That's right.
You have to pay a dime. So you can set all this up for free and be on your way. But once you set up your out there platform, now you need to look at a publishing platform.
Okay.
And there's that's where we get tricky, and that's where things start to get a little muddy. Someone asked me, he said, how much is it going to cost for me to self-publish? And I said, okay, well, when I started, there was really independent publishing was ongoing, and it was still not really out there, but it was doing okay. Self-publishing was going on, but it really wasn't where it is now. Everybody was trying to get their book deal, and everybody was trying to get a literary agent, yada, yada, yada. I did a lot of research, and I advise everybody else to do your research before you jump in. And what I found out in my own research and from my own reading habits, I realized that I was starting to read a lot more books on digital devices, on my computer, on my iPad, on my phone. I was starting to do that more, my Kindle. I was starting to do that more as opposed to actually buying a book.
Right.
And so I thought to myself, well, do I want to go the traditional publishing route, or do I want to look into e-publishing more?
Okay.
I said, because you have to think in 3 to 5 year increments. I said, 3 to 5 years from now, people are going to be not buying books. There won't even be any bookstores around. You'll be, looking at stuff online, reading books online, or you'll download them to your phone or to your iPad or your Nook or whatever, and you read it there on the go. I said, so I think I'm going to go with e-publishing. So I went the e-book route, okay? And I found a platform that allowed me to create e-books in all 3 formats for free, okay? And I would get 90 to 100% of the royalties. I didn't have to share my money with anybody except for me or another author if I collaborated with. And that was it. And
wow.
That was it. And but there are other things with that. The cover design and getting a good cover. I had to find places that I could actually buy covers from, and it took a while. I purchased covers from people that I thought were reputable, that knew what they were doing, and the covers were less junk. I can't. When I look back now, I'm like, wow, I don't even buy this. I can't freaking use it anywhere, because the resolution was just not there, and you need a good quality resolution a cover so that not only so you can use it for your ebooks, but if you want to print T-shirts, if you want to print posters, and provide those to fans or followers or take it to conventions or whatever, you need to be able to do that. And if you've got a crappy design or a crappy artwork to begin with, it's not gonna do well.
So basically, before you move on to that, because you said so many great things, and it was so many points in there, James. I can't even imagine. But and it's really good stuff, because one of the things I want to reiterate that you said that is so important is that in addition to the fact that you're going to be publishing a book or you're writing something and put in a tangible form, but you have to do the work. You have to be fully invested in what you're doing, because as you said, if you're not doing your research, whether you're using technology, and this is why I want to interrupt you, because, technology is one of those platforms like we're using now that makes it so easy to do things versus 10 years ago, you had to go to a facility, you had to go talk to people, you had to get things printed out, and then the whole 9 yards. Nowadays you have technology applications that does it within minutes. So if and I said it in my book as well, if you can take your cell phone or your tablet or any device that you have and educate yourself to be productive. Writing a book is one of them, maybe going to school is another. You have to be fully invested in doing it, and you have to follow through because, if you're expecting people, like you said, to go on your, ebook publishing platform and download your book, they're the ones that's going to be invested when they go out there and search for that book and they find it and they're like, you know what, I'm going to be committed. I'm going to download this book.
Hmm.
If you want people to have that same commitment, you have to have the same commitment yourself, and I've wanted to reiterate that because that is really important. You can't just put anything on paper and think, oh, I wrote a book and it's going to be great. And everybody's
Hmm.
going to love it. If you don't take the time to read, know where you are, know what genre you want to do, make sure you get your story and make it compelling and keep it interesting, people are not going to
Yep.
be interested. And like you said, if you don't take the time to really make sure that your cover is correct and, you all of those things speak you. And I think you're right that a lot of people kind of write the first book about themselves, and I can hold my hand up and say, yeah, my book is about me. My book is about me and what my challenges were. Yeah, so I'm guilty of that, James, for sure. You
Hmm.
know, but
Hmm. Hmm.
uh, but I think it's really important that people really, really understand that, and especially for those out there who are listening today, and say, this is what I really want to do. How do I want to do it? Your comments were very powerful in saying, this is what you had to go through. You have to make these
Yep.
decisions,
Hmm.
and so
Hmm.
that is wonderful, wonderful things. So let's talk about like maybe the top three challenges that authors go
Okay.
through when let's say they get their book out there. I know for me, mine was just the fear that people wouldn't like my book,
Okay.
what
Okay.
my
So
friends,
so
family versus people who don't know me.
okay. So let's stop right there. Let's
Okay,
stop
cool.
right there.
All right.
That's the first thing. So the first thing is basically um, you've written your book. Now what?
Yep, now what?
So I wrote. So we're gonna start at the end, which is Ibrahim Unites. So this is my current book. So everything I have learned, okay, from free online webinars and free downloadable ebooks and YouTube, everything I've learned about writing and marketing and promoting, okay, as an author, I threw into Ibrahim Unites to launch that book. You just wrote your book. What they don't tell you as an author, okay, is that now you have to promote and market your own book.
Right.
That the publisher is not going to do that unless you are famous. If you're not
That's
famous,
true. That's right.
you're not famous. So you know what? You need to get out there and do your own thing. You have to do it. And a friend of mine, a good friend of mine, he had written a book and he had taken it to a publisher. Small house, small print. And what I tell folks is, you can get, if you want to get your books published, you can go to a small print, submit some stuff to small print, regional print presses. They'll give you the skinny. They'll reply. They'll tell you what's up. So you get a feel of, if you're ready or not, to be out there. I never did that. I said to myself, well, that's another middleman. I said that's someone else
Exactly.
getting in between. That's someone else getting in between me and my money, and also me and my creative genius, because they may be telling me, well, we don't like that.
Oh,
Okay, well, so they may be telling me, move this over here. I don't need all that. So you wrote your book. Now you have to promote it. It's going to cost you, on average, anywhere between, I'd say, depending on your effort and what you want to do, and how savvy you are with the internet and everything else, it's going to cost you anywhere from $2,500 in marketing and promoting your book, depending on what kind of packages you want and everything else. I tell folks, if you have a Twitter account and you know how to hashtag, and you follow a couple of good hashtags, as well as you pay for a tweet service, you can get a lot of traction and a lot of hype built up on your book by doing that. Okay, and it only going to cost you. You could, as for a reasonable investment of about maybe $25 a month, you can do that. And you can also, but the key to any of those other things is being on someone's email list.
Yes.
You can get access to someone's email list, and you know this. Once you got that, you're connected to their connections.
Right.
And now they can get out there and they can flood everybody. And these are people who read,
Mm-hmm.
So boom. So now you're out there. So that's what I would say is the biggest thing that most authors don't realize is once you finish writing your book, now you got to promote it. You got to promote it and market. And there's a lot of different things where people trip up in the marketing. A common thing is they do all this marketing up front, but they don't really have anything to make people want to go get the book. Okay? So What I did, I'm going to tell you a secret. So what I did was I put all this stuff out, but I had the ebook published and available before the paperback was launched.
Okay.
And the reason why I did that was so that I knew I was going to print, say, 25 to 30 copies. I knew that. And I was going to have those copies before the paperback came out. So I put the ebook out. Ebook was published, and then I started marketing and tweeting about, hey, if you get the ebook, and you get back to me, you send me an email or whatever, and give me your address, I'll send you a signed copy, right? So the ebook was price marked at basically, I wasn't giving them the books away for free, so I was still, basically breaking even. And
Okay.
what that did was it drove up my ebook sales. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so that the ebook sales went up. When the paperback came out, there's a nice little buzz about the book. Now I can say it's a bestseller because it's already went up to a bestseller as an ebook. Now I can start marketing it as a bestseller. Hey, best-selling ebook, and now people can go out and get the paperback. And and so people started moving forward to get the paperback and order the paperback. It's all about the pre-orders. If you can get people up there to make the pre-orders,
Mm-hmm.
however you do it, whatever you give them to do it, whatever call to action you provide to them, bam, that's how you're going to sell those books and move them off the shelves and get them, sell out so they have to go back out and print some more. And because the Amazon's first pressing, they only did about 25 books. So, but they were all gone by about a week into the launch. They were all gone. So now they're on back order.
Well, let me ask you a question about the Amazon part of it. So, I noticed that on Amazon, when you do your self-publishing, they're supposed to give you like a little report of how many books you sold versus royalties and things of that nature. And so I guess for my own self, I noticed that they don't necessarily always report that because I've had, people come back and say, hey, I bought your book. It's great. And then I go in there and I look and it's not quite the same number as I am getting feedbacks from, so how is the best way to kind of gauge like what's in stock? Because, Amazon tends to, send your book to these other publishers and, and things, you don't know really how many books they actually have in stock at the time.
Exactly. And so are you part of Author Central on Amazon?
I am actually building my profile, and I was going to ask you, I found that out maybe like a month after that there was an author's page on Amazon.
Yep.
And if you don't have that, nobody would know who you are. So, yeah, I am definitely trying to get my author's page. So, guys, if you're out there listening, if you have a self-published book already and you don't have an author's page, you need to go out there and fill it out.
Mm-hmm. They called it something else. They changed the name. It wasn't Author Central before. It was something else. I forget the name before. But it's Author Central. And from there, and here's the reason why you have to have that profile and why Author Central is important. Okay, so I write sci-fi, and I write erotica, and I write crime dramas, right? Okay. And I write urban fantasies. So I go to all of my favorite authors, right? And I click on their author profile and I follow them. I also go to where their books are that I've read. I rate them and I put in a review. Okay? So you do that for every book you read, every author that you like, you do that. Because what happens is an author sees that you've done that, and they'll go back in kind and do the same for yours. Wow. What that does is when people go to pick up your book, they'll look and go, wait a minute, that little algorithm that runs in the back of Amazon that says, well, if you bought this, you'll like this. Readers that purchase this, purchase that. It's based on this interaction between you and these authors and these other reviewers. So if you're doing that, that algorithm is going to pick it up, and it's going to refer people and recommend other things, and your book might be in those tiles as they pop up. So now people are associating you with another self-help author, okay? And they're like, boom, that's how you get that connection. So I would be blessed if someone picked up or purchased Walter Mosley, and they looked and said, wow, James Nathan, what is that? Oh, let me check on him too. Because typically I don't buy just one book. I'll buy maybe 2 or 3 books, right? And that's what people do. So they'll buy 2 or 3 things, and then they go get them something else from Amazon or whatever. Because if you're Amazon Prime, your shipping is basically free. So you just go ahead and get whatever you want to get. But getting back to the royalties, so I'm still kind of fudgy on Amazon's pricing, because they priced my book to sell early, and then they raised the price back up. And a lot of people, well, actually, I Google my stuff just about every other day to see where it's at, see who's selling it. And I found it for cheap. Cheapest price I found was at Books A Million. And Books A Million is selling it for less than $10. And I was like, wow. I said, okay, so I will pass that link on to everybody, to my fans and everybody else, and then I'll drum up some kind of promotion to go with that as well. To say, hey, get this, and I'll throw in a couple of other ebooks if you buy this, blah, 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 to do that, just keep it moving. But by doing that, I was able to stumble across Books A Million Publishing. They publish books too.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes, and they help you self-publish your book.
Wow.
Yep. So, but the money, it has these graphs, and they tell you, my first royalty check from them won't be until about June time anyway. But I don't anticipate making that much money from my print books, because the most I'm going to make from the printed books is about $1.20. So another thing, making the money is all about whatever platform you use. It's got to be based on those royalties coming back to you. And so if you do that, you want a platform that's going to give you at least 90% of the royalties coming back to you.
Yeah, I was just about to ask you about that as far as the money, because I know a couple people who have written books before I did, and they were really, really excited about the prospect of making a lot of money, or like you said earlier, trying to go to a publisher and making themselves viable that way, and hoping to get a huge commission and then try to sell the book. But in reality, what you're saying is that it doesn't even work that way. It's literally the other way around, where they're looking for you to do all the heavy lifting and get the popularity before they even try to step in.
Exactly. And they it's almost like doing. It's almost like the record industry.
That's exactly what they did. That's exactly what they did. Yes.
So I tell people, I says everybody should be self-publishing, and the reason why you should be self-publishing is because if you're doing it to make money, that's how you're going to make money. All right, money in your pocket, and every dime that I make on these books, I throw it right back into the books. So that pays for my covers. That pays for my license fee on the editing software I use. That pays for an upgrade to my computer or whatever I want to do. That pays for whatever shirts I want to print, or if I want to print more books, that pays for all of it. I throw it right back into that. So,
Okay.
So there is no. I'm not like living the life, you know. It's like I put it right back in it, and I see a lot of other folks that don't do that.
Yeah,
And
it's very important that you reinvest in your business,
yeah,
because it doesn't matter if you're writing a book or you're selling product. If you don't take the money and reinvest it in your business to make it thrive, and you spend it on like your bills. I mean, yeah, people are going to spend like for gas or maybe get something to eat when their money is low. But but if you're taking like all your funds that you've earned, for your hard work, sweat and tears in your business, and you're not reinvesting it in your business, then you're going to come out of the pocket a lot more, and you're not going to move as fast as you want to move. And that is so true, But I want to ask you another question in terms of, when people making money. So like at the book fair that I went to last weekend, there were amazing marketing materials. So I'm going back to the marketing because, it is a heavy expense, to try to get your stuff out there. And yeah, social media could be free, but there's a lot of other stuff that's not free. So a lot of these authors, they had like these little postcards and little bookmarks and, all these other little trinkets. How, when you're out there marketing your book in places, public places, how effective is this, are these bookmarks and postcards and little things that they have at the table? I mean, does it really increase your book sale when you have these things?
you know what? I gotta say, it depends. I mean, it really depends. I had some flyers that I printed out from Vistaprint, and not everybody should be part of Vistaprint. If you're in a business or author, whatever, you need to be on Vistaprint because you can get great deals off of Vistaprint for all your stuff, as well as there's another one called TaylorMade. Hold on, let me.
TaylorMade is good, and Staples is also pretty good too, because Staples have competitive prices, just like Vistaprint.
Taylor Brand is the name.
Taylor Brand. Okay.
It's really basically they will generate your own logo. They will generate a logo for you right there, and you pay $20 for it. And
that's a good deal.
Yeah, it's a good, and it's It's nice stuff. And you can use that logo. They give you the different files, so you can use it to either print on clothing, or they give you the files so you can use it for print media. It's perfect. I mean, I just stumbled across this, just thumbing through Facebook and looking at my feed, and I'm looking at these different stuff popping up on Facebook. What is this? And I just clicked on it, and I was like, oh. And I started playing with it. The next thing I knew, I had a logo.
Oh, wow. There's another one that floats out there, too, on Facebook called Fiverr, which, they do logos and marketing. I kind of looked at that, and I'm like, maybe this one, it may not be for me, but I'm pretty sure it can help somebody else if they want to pay, $5 for someone to develop your logo. They have, like, all these different people who, you give commission to do your products or your logo or your banner or whatever marketing that you want to do. They have, all these different people and artists that will give you that, for like $5 or less.
Whatever.
Yeah.
It's negotiable.
Yep, pretty much.
Now, yeah. And now, as far as what I've noticed, and I go to various conventions, not so much, for writing or being an author, but I go books. I go to conventions for for comics, anime, those types of conventions. And what I've noticed is that if there's something that's popular, you can see it within the convention. Something the little giveaway trinkets that people give away. But every now and then you'll see everybody walking around with something because it was nice and they wanted it and it's catchy. And the reason why they give those things away is so that once you leave the convention, you're walking around with this catchy thing. People will see that and they'll ask where you got it, what is it about, blah 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 blah. Yeah. Now for books, the flyers I gave out, I was in a bar in the airport, and I was in Phoenix, and I was sitting down, and this girl was sitting next to me, and she was headed back to D.C., right? And I'm looking, and she has one of my flyers.
Oh, that's convenient. That's convenient.
And I said, where did you get that? And she said, my boyfriend, he works over at Fort Meade, and he was at the barber shop, and he saw it there, and he just grabbed it and just picked it up, and so I use it as a bookmark, and I said, so have you read any of the books that are on the flyer? She goes, you know what? I haven't been to the website yet. I go, you should go. And she looks at me and I go, I'm the author. That's my flyer. And then I open my bag.
Oh, wow.
A whole handful. And she's like, oh my God. But see, that's how that goes. You never know. So
you never know.
And I said, if it costs you, I get very nice artsy business cards to hand out as well, that with maybe one of my covers from one of my books on it, and with all my information and how to get the books and stuff. I give those. You can get about 250 of those for $10, and
yep.
You can hand them out. Just hand them out because that small investment, you never know how many people will come in contact with that, and just say, hey, oh yeah, let me check it out. Let me go I mean, the overall price for my books are not that expensive, but I'm always giving sales. I'm always offering other kind of bundles, to go with them. But all I say for authors and people that are self-published, the more you spread your brand around, the better. People have to get used to it because you're not on TV, during the NBA playoffs where you can post an ad, and people get to see it. You're not like that yet. So you have to get out there. You got to pound the street. You got to give cards, hand out flyers, shake hands, do book signings, do book readings. You have to do that because that's selling your brand. That's marketing. And a lot of authors will do that initially. Their book will launch, then they'll stop.
Mm-hmm.
They don't do. You got to keep on pushing. I know this one new author, bless her soul, I love her to death. She went out and she marketed her book early. She put all this stuff out here, all this stuff. Her book comes out, and she goes to a convention with her book, her first convention with her book, everything. Her book comes out, but I haven't seen not one thing promoted about her book since her book launched.
Wow.
And I asked her about that. I said, what happened? And I think she got the big high from the book launch went up. Mm-hmm. And then after that, it's been like, whoa. She came down and she was like, James, I don't know how you do it. I said, girl, you need to get on your grind. You need to start grinding.
Okay, you got to get on your grind. Okay, but that is so true, and it goes right back to that again. If you don't put forth the effort for what you're fighting for, your writing or your whatever dream or skill you're using, it's just not going to happen. People are not going to flock to you. You have to make it known that it's out there, and really get people inspired to buy your book or to buy your product or get your service. You have to put it out there and not be afraid. And that is so true. And, so James, tell everyone how they can find you.
Ooh, okay. So you can find me, and I'm going to tell you how easy it is to find me. I'm on Facebook, James Lee Nathan III. And, oh, by the way, I'll share something with you. A reviewer of my book, one of his comments was, the author's name is so pretentious. So I said, and I was thinking, I said, man, my mama named me. Don't be yelling at me for my name. But anyway, if you go onto Facebook, you can find me there. If you do a simple Google search for James Lee Nathan and put 3 eyes behind it. That'll come back with all of my books. It'll come back with all the stuff for my Lean Pub on my author platform. It'll come back with reviews. And the reason why is because I learned to do something called SEO.
Right.
And you being in IT, you know what SEO is.
Yeah, that is definitely another segment of this podcast, but it is so important. If you do not have a SEO, and trust me, you guys, I learned the hard way about why SEOs are important, because if we cannot find you on the internet, you won't be found. So, you won't be. So, that's definitely another, topic. But, again, James, thank you so much for sharing really, really powerful resources and tools that everybody can definitely use. I know that you spent a lot of time and effort building your craft, and one of the things that I'm hoping to do with this podcast is to really shed a light on particularly our men and women of color, that we are not afraid to share information to support each other. And so with that, I am really blessed to have such creative people who are speaking, giving information such as yourself on this show. So thank you so much for joining us and to give us this good presentation.
Thank you so much for having me, and I look forward to coming back one day.
Cool.